Alright, I've been pretty busy over the past few months working on other videos, uni, my job, like my real job. I was gonna do separate videos reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Shazam Fear of the Gods, but I think it's more interesting to discuss why these movies are underperforming, and if superhero fatigue is finally setting in. Because Ant-Man, despite making nearly 500 million at the box office, is the lowest grossing Ant-Man movie and is expected to not even break even, as, according to Variety, it needs to make $600 million to break even. And don't even get me started on box office for Shazam. Oof. And I don't even think it's entirely the movies themselves that are the issue. I think it's a culmination of various different reasons. I saw both movies opening night. Ant-Man was packed, and Shazam, less so. Still, the audience in both screenings seemed to really enjoy themselves. They were all laughing at the jokes, and during Ant-Man there was some clapping too. So, why are audiences not showing up like they used to? First, let's look at the movies themselves. Now, Ant-Man I thought was fine. I left the screening in a pretty good mood, and I was like, hey, that really wasn't all that bad. Because based on the reviews, I thought I wasn't going to like it much at all. But since then, I've kind of soured on it, and I've agreed more with what the critics have been saying. I think the biggest problem is that the whole movie just kind of feels like it's a joke. It isn't entirely a comedy, but it treats everything ironically. It can't help but wink at the audience every 5 seconds as if to say, yeah, we know this is dumb. Which I think is just indicative of a larger systemic issue of blockbuster movies now using too much ironic, winking at the audience, Joss Whedon type humor. You know the kind I'm talking about. The effects were pretty wonky. I think the story is a mess, and I don't know, I just got the feeling they didn't try very hard. I think I would be more generous to this if it was just a flat out comedy, but it really isn't, despite there being, admittedly, some pretty funny jokes. Overall, yeah, not great. It's entertaining enough to put on Disney Plus while you're doing laundry or whatever. 5.5 out of 10, I think. I don't know. I'm not positive on it enough to give it a 6, but it's not bad enough to just be a flat 5 either. As for Shazam, I thought it was alright. I thought the story was a bit muddled. I think the Daughters of Atlas probably should have been one or at most two characters rather than three. And Zachary Levi, I thought was kind of annoying. I don't think we get nearly enough Asher Angel to balance things out. They also could have shaved 10 to 15 minutes from the runtime. Still, I thought it was overall pretty funny, the family dynamic is still strong, and the action set pieces were well done and keep the movie entertaining throughout. I don't think it's as good as the first Shazam, which I've also kind of soured on a little bit. I give that like a 7.5 out of 10, while this is more like a 6.5 out of 10. Now that I've got the mini reviews out of the way, I think something these movies have in common that is affecting the box office is the visual effects don't look that great. Ant-Man, it's already been talked to death how the effects look really iffy in that movie, but Shazam is what I want to focus on. While none of the CGI is bad, the visual look of the movie just isn't there for me. Listen, it is competently made, everything looks like a big budget movie, but it also just looks kind of flat and empty, save for a few key sequences. I'd also say this is largely due to COVID, but also plenty of post COVID movies look really great. There's also, as I mentioned, the winking at the audience humor, which I think audiences are getting kind of sick of. Avatar The Way of Water and Top Gun Maverick had none of that, and those movies made billions. I'd say there's definitely more self referential humor in Ant Man, but it's present in Shazam, especially in the marketing.
I just threw a truck at a dragon. I love my life.
Speaking of the marketing, let's get into that. Okay, first, Ant-Man. This is the first time, at least that I've noticed, where the marketing seemed to only be appealing towards Marvel fans. No one else really. If you show the trailer to this to your parents, the only thing they're going to come away with is, oh, is that Bill Murray? But aside from that, won't have any other reactions to the rest of the trailer. I mean, the tagline for this was witness the beginning of a new dynasty, referring to the next Avengers movie, which will be called The Kang Dynasty, coming out in 2025. And I only know that because I'm a weirdo who keeps up with this sort of stuff. Your average audience member doesn't. And not to mention, and I just want to touch on this very lightly because I know if I don't, I'll get comments, but it wouldn't surprise me if they don't even fucking make that movie because of all the stuff going on with Jonathan Majors. So, yeah. And Shazam. Oh boy. I mean, really, what the fuck is this? Seriously, what is this? The marketing for this movie was just weird. It also made it look like the movie would be a lot more serious in tone.
I don't know how we fight powers like this.
When in the first one, what people liked about that movie was that it was just a fun comedy. Not to mention, they revealed the Wonder Woman cameo like a week before the movie came out. They really dropped the ball with that. If that was left a surprise, it could have really helped with word of mouth, but nope, you can see it in the trailer instead. It's no real surprise that director David F. Sandberg had no say in this. I feel just in general, directors should have a huge hand in how a movie is marketed. Instead, the marketing for this is just a big mess. Some of the marketing tries to make it look like a flat-out comedy, some of the marketing makes it look like the dark chapter of Shazam, and some of the marketing just makes it look like your average typical superhero movie. It's just very bizarre. Okay, third and final reason is superhero fatigue finally setting in. Everyone I know has never really cared for DC since Batman v Superman Suicide Squad, and are only really interested in stuff that's outside of the main DC cinematic universe, which makes it kind of a no-brainer why they're rebooting. But more importantly, everyone I know more recently has come to agree that Marvel has become a bit more hit or miss. I think with all the non-stop content Marvel's been putting out, it's become very much quantity over quality. And thankfully, Marvel seems to be acknowledging that, with the Marvels being delayed to November, and Secret Invasion being maybe the only Disney Plus Marvel show to come out this year. At the very least, there seems to be larger breaks in between MCU entries than there were in 2021 and 2022. Which also means the CGI will probably look better too, because there'll hopefully be less crunch. It benefits everyone. But also, is it too late? Has the damage already been done? I mean, as I said, DC's reputation is still recovering from their movies from 2016. It wouldn't surprise me if recent MCU content sours the Marvel brand for a while. And it's getting increasingly harder to jump onto this franchise when there's so much baggage and lore behind it. It's basically impenetrable to new viewers. And it wasn't like this when Infinity War and Endgame were coming out. You didn't have to watch nearly as much to get into the franchise. I'm sure Marvel and DC will continue to have hits. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 seems to have a lot more hype surrounding it than Ant-Man, and I'm sure it will do well at the box office this weekend. The Flash, if it's as incredible as everyone's been saying, and if Ezra Miller stays out of trouble, will probably be successful too. But man, it would not surprise me if Blue Beetle and the Marvels are huge bombs, even if they turn out to be good movies. I think the superhero movie landscape is just way more fragile than it used to be. But, I don't know, what do you think? Leave a comment. Do you think superhero movies can recover from these recent duds? Also, if you want, you can follow me on Twitter at SumiGeekYT. Not that I really post there, but anyway, leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this one.